Welcome to the Godless Rebelution podcast. Today, as our guest, we have Dan Ellis, president of Atheists of Utah, and we will be discussing last week's American Atheists convention and some news topics. So, let's get started.
So we're here in Salt Lake City. Just got done with the American Atheist convention. Wanted to talk to Dan about some of the speakers there, some of the stuff we took away from the convention. Had a bunch of big names. We had Chris Cluey. Jamila Bay was a fantastic MC. I thought she did a fantastic job the whole time. We had Mark White, bassist of the Spin Doctors. Seth Andrews, the Thinking Atheist, was here. Of course, Greta Christina. Brian Dalton of Mr. Deity. Matt Dillahunty was here. And, of course, J.T. Eberhardt. And Dan had a speaking part himself. What do you think, Dan, was probably what was the most impactful part of the conference, the convention that you took away, at least maybe locally? What was the most meaningful thing for atheists in Utah?
You know, honestly, for me, I think it was just being able to hang out with so many cool people. Like, you know, I had never been to an atheist convention before or anything. So this was my first one, and I thought, you know, it'll be cool. There'll be a lot of cool speakers there. I'll get to meet some of the people that I've been chatting with and communicating with on Facebook and everything online. That'll be great. But beyond that, and beyond hearing all of the great lectures and everything, I think the most exciting and the best thing that I took out of it was just that, you know, it was a place where I could just be me. You know, I didn't have to worry about, you know, somebody finding out that I was an atheist, or somebody being upset that I was an atheist, or, you know, being upset that I didn't believe in God or wanting to challenge me on anything like that. It was just fantastic to be able to spend an entire weekend with so many awesome people who also don't believe in God, and I didn't have to worry about it. It was just so freeing and so relaxing, and it was an amazing experience. It was awesome.
Yeah, I had a lot of similar feelings. Coming out of Utah County and at Provo with BYU right there, and I'm not sure what the percentage is Mormon there, but I know it's considerably higher than it is here in Salt Lake.
So.
I think it's 80% or something like that, rather than 50 or something it is in Salt Lake.
It's a lot.
I know it took me the full first day to actually really feel comfortable, you know, sitting with it. Everybody else kind of basically felt the way I did about all these things, this superstition and all this stuff was. So I totally hear you on that. I think one of the more relevant parts of it was David Silverman had a discussion where what he was talking about with the Mormon attitude about being inclusive, where the idea from these, I don't know if they're Mormon apologists. I actually went back and looked at the video where that topic was brought up, but that was their defense, was that they would say that, well, we're totally inclusive. We'll let anybody join.
Are you talking about the thing on Wednesday that they did that panel prior to the conference?
Yeah, I was there for that one. I remember that.
Yes,
one.
With the BYU professor.
Yeah.
Where he said, you know, as Mormons, we're totally inclusive, right? We let anybody join.
How frustrating and what a load of horseshit a lot of the things they were saying was. I mean, just, you know, I got there a bit late because I attended a memorial service for Richard Andrews ahead of that, but, you know, so I got there about a half an hour late. But when I got there, it was standing room only.
Yeah,
and I mean, just the general vibe in the room was just that everybody in there was so incredibly frustrated with the things that the BYU professors were saying.
Yeah, the room was about 95% atheist. I mean, when they asked if you were atheist, raise your hand. I was
almost.
I was kind of blown back. Like, whoa, all right.
Yeah,
my people are here. Awesome.
Well, I think the turnout overall was somewhere around 700, wasn't it? Which.
For the convention in total, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think David said something. It was a little over 700 for the final numbers.
Yeah, which is pretty great.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's not a highly populated state, not a hugely densely populated city.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, this is, as far last I heard, was the second most religious state in the country, behind I think Alabama.
I know Alabama was. We were
maybe
1 and 2.
Mississippi, Alabama,
and Mississippi's in there.
I mean, yeah, the southern, you know, the Bible Belt states for sure. But you know, yeah, Utah's really, really religious. You know, I hear from people a lot of the time who say, "Oh man, you know, it's got to be so hard being an atheist in Utah. It's got to be really rough." And honestly, I would much rather be an atheist here than anywhere in the Bible Belt. Like, I don't know how those guys put up with it, because you know, the Mormons here, yeah, they're very Christian. Yeah, they're fairly exclusionary and they can be a bit dickish, but for the most part, they're really good people, and they're fairly accepting, at least outwardly. They're hugely passive aggressive a lot of the time,
Right.
but they're not outwardly aggressive. I don't have to worry about, wearing an atheist t-shirt somewhere and having some redneck dipshit walk up to me and want to punch me in the face necessarily. Mm. I think part of that is that I'm not the smallest guy in the world, so, so that erases some of that concern. But
it's important to know too that Dan has this enormous Viking beard that I'm hugely jealous of.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah, you talk about the Bible Belt. I spent a lot of time down in Texas with the military, and I would be down there by a Walmart as a store, and you'd have people outside selling crosses for churches. It's not just like the necklaces, like big ornamental crosses to put on your walls. And I'm thinking, like, you go to all these places, you see everyone doing it, and I'm like, is that even allowed? Being like every corner you're selling crosses, and it's not just.
Do you need some kind of Jesus vendor's license for that?
It's shoving it in your face, selling it. It's coming right up to you and making you, here, take this pamphlet, buy this cross.
Yeah.
You need it. You have to have one.
Yeah.
And
otherwise you won't be saved.
Yeah.
My neighbors that used to live next door to me were really awesome people. I mean, they were really nice. We had a lot in common. Everything was going great. The husband I would go golfing with every Tuesday as part of the men's league that I play in. And, it was when I was just initially starting to come out and be more vocal about my atheism. And I remember when they moved in, I was standing in the backyard. I can't even remember what I was doing. I think I was just playing with the dog or whatever. And the neighbor came over to the fence and she's like, "Oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm your new neighbor. And I was just hoping to, chat with you for a little bit, meet you because we're neighbors, and thought I'd say hi and introduce myself." And, we had a nice little chat and everything. And she said, "So it doesn't seem that you're Mormon," and I'm guessing she figured that out because I had a drink with me in the backyard or whatever, And I said, "No, I'm not." And she said, "So it just seems like they're not very friendly." And I said, "Well, they are in a way. I've been born and raised here. I've lived here most of my life, so I've kind of gotten used to it. But I understand that for people from out of state coming here is a little bit of a culture shock because, a lot of the time until someone who's LDS knows that you're also LDS, they kind of, they're very standoffish. Yeah. They don't talk to you a whole lot and stuff like that. And so we had this nice little conversation. We became friendly and everything. And one day we were just chatting, and she's like, "Oh, I understand you're on Facebook." And I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "Oh, well, I'll have to send you a friend request." And I just said, "Oh, sure, that would be great," and kind of dreaded actually getting the request from her. So sure enough, that night, I got a request from her, and I just sent a little message, and I said, "Hey,
by the way,
I got your friend request, and I just want you to know, that from what I know of you, you're a fairly religious person." Because in their living room, and this is what made me think of it when you were talking about the crosses, but in their living room, like an entire wall was just covered with crosses of various shapes and sizes. And I mean, it was kind of freaky. It was a little surreal to walk in and just be presented with an entire wall just full, just cram packed of crosses. And I, so in my message, I said, I understand you're a fairly religious person. I knew they were Baptist, and, I said, and I know that, our politics probably don't align either. I knew just based on some of our conversations that she was really, really conservative. And I said, so I just am letting you know that I know that that's how you are, but my views on those two topics don't align with yours at all. And so I can accept your friend request, but I'm letting you know now that, I'm a pretty outspoken atheist online. I'm very liberal and progressive in a lot of the things that I post and talk about politically. So I can accept your request. I just want you to know ahead of time, that we're probably not going to see eye to eye on a lot of these things. And she's like, her reply was, "Oh no, that's fine. We're friendly. It'll be great. It's not to worry or anything." So I accepted her friend request, and I think within 3 days she had unfriended me. and then every conversation that I had with her, like out in the yard or wherever else, was really, really awkward. And
just crickets, huh? Yeah. Just Speaking here with Atheists of Utah President Dan Ellis. What's the atheist community in Salt Lake like? You're seeing any growth? Is it stable? Is there any major obstacles?
Tons of growth, particularly with the convention coming. I think when I first joined the group, our Facebook group had, I believe, under 500 people, Now we're almost at 2,200.
Yeah.
I mean, we broke 2,000 just a couple of weeks ago, and we've already hit almost 2,200 since the convention, and people finding out more about the group and hearing about us online, or through the news media and other posts from American Atheists, who have been very helpful in helping spread the word that, hey, there's not just the national group, there's a great local group here also.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's grown by leaps and bounds. I mean, we have, a ton more paid members. We have a lot of people more involved. And it's been awesome, but it's also been a little overwhelming at times. Just because there's been this huge influx of new people into the group who, for so long it was this semi-isolated group of people who, we were growing really quickly, but it was at a pace where people were joining the group and could become kind of acclimated and understand how the group kind of went, and the content that is shared in there, and people's opinions and how things flow in there. And now we're just getting so many new people, and it's like there's a flame war.
Yeah.
There's a flame war, and they're like, every day or every other day or more than one per day. And so it's been a little overwhelming trying to moderate all of that, but
Getting a little heat in there last week, I think.
oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's kind of nice too. I mean, even with those types of flame wars and, kind of getting really angry with each other back and forth, it still helps build a community of other people who say, no, I disagree with that, and here's why. And the great thing about us as atheists is that, more often than not, we're going to base our opinions on reason and logic versus, any emotional appeal. And that's what happens usually. Every now and then, it's based on emotion, but it's awesome that we can have a more logical and rational discussion a lot of the time and say, no, I disagree with you, and here's why, not just, I disagree with you, and go fuck yourself.
Right. Yeah, well, and a lot of times when you get it, you get it, it's been compared to herding cats all the time, and I'm a little tired of that cliche, but, at the same time, you get a group of free thinkers together and someone starts to try to make emotional appeals or any kind of fallacious argument, they're pretty much going to be flayed. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the beast, with that. So,
well, and then, then you get people who chime in and say, oh, well, don't be so mean to so-and-so. They're, they're new and whatever. And, well, okay, I can understand you're new, but, if you're going to comment somewhere or say something, don't expect to not be challenged on it. Don't expect that you can just say whatever and everybody will go, oh yeah, that's a great idea. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We should not, tell people that we don't want our kids going to, a religious museum or anything like that. So if you're going to say something, you should be able to back it up.
Right. I think that's a really cool thing about the Atheists of Utah community too, is when something like that does happen, like you're talking about that school taking the
fourth graders to basically a Mormon history museum. Oh yeah, not basically. Well, and that's the thing too. It's not a Utah history museum that the church owns. It's a church history.
Yes.
It's a museum dedicated to the history of the LDS church here. And they present it as fact. It's not, here's what some people think, or here's what, LDS people think. This is fact, The Noah's flood happened. Black people were cursed with dark skin because they didn't fight valiantly enough in the pre-existence. I mean, all of these kind of crazy things.
They settled this state.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to believe in God. Without God, life is meaningless. That kind of bullshit that, that it really, really makes me mad that stuff's going on.
And the black skin curse thing is a part of Mormon doctrine, not an opinion we're expressing.
Right.
Here.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
I've heard rumors that they most people that don't really read in the doctrine that I work with are like, no, that's not true. It's false. I'm like, well, is it false, or are they just not teaching it anymore?
Completely backed away from that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's part of official doctrine and history. I mean, you can look at the LDS history of not allowing blacks to hold the priesthood until 1978. It's not because they thought blacks were equal and should, have the priesthood, and for one reason or another, it just slipped through the cracks. Yeah. There was systemic racism, rampant throughout the LDS church for years and years, and it still exists to this day. I mean, it's more hidden. It's not as open, but most of the LDS people I know, whether they're honest about it with themselves or anybody else, they're still fairly racist in a lot of their views.
And, not meant to be racist, but when you go down, like when they're doing the convention, like they had before the weekend before Easter. You drive down through downtown Salt Lake by Temple Square, you don't see a lot of people of varying ethnic groups.
And not a lot of diversity, no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly not a racially diverse group, particularly here in Utah.
Yeah.
What were some of the was there opposition to the American Atheists bringing a convention to Salt Lake? Did the Mormon Church give you any problems? I know there were some advertising issues. What was that like? Kind of trying to bring that in.
It's kind of funny. The LDS Church has this current stance of, we're not going to address any issues of people who stand in opposition to us, because then it's understandable. It's understandable because their rationale is that it gives us, more
publicity,
more publicity, or it makes our stance or our views more valid in the eyes of other people if the LDS Church comes out and makes an official statement about it or anything. So I can understand why they don't, but at the same time, it's clear that they were talking about us.
Oh yeah.
When you look at the fact that most of the billboard companies that American Atheists contacted prior to the convention to have them run the billboard ads and everything, most of the companies just sent absolutely no reply at all. American Atheists would contact them, say, "Hey, we have this campaign we're wanting to run. We're looking to get quotes from you, locations, that kind of stuff," and they would, there was crickets, just no reply at all. And then there were a few companies who did respond and said, no, we're not going to do that. We think it's, it runs counter to the culture in our state. And it was basically code word for, we don't want to upset anybody who happens to be LDS and may also be our customer.
I thought some of them were actually responding back saying, this is offensive.
Yeah, there was.
But I can drive on the street and see when it says, you're going to burn in hell if you don't call this number tonight, and that's not offensive?
Right.
Yeah,
there were, and I'm trying to, I think it was it Reagan Outdoor who said that? No, it was Yesko. Yesko, flatly said, no, these billboards are offensive. And I don't understand what is offensive about the billboards other than that it said that they're not LDS,
Right.
If that's their major offense, then they'd probably shit themselves having to listen to this podcast or anything that that any of the three of us say on a daily basis. And I know too, it's funny because I have, it almost feels like Fight Club at times. Like I have people who will contact me who say, I work for Yesko. You should see the shitstorm that's going on here in the office because of all of this stuff that's going on. Like there's been board meetings. They're having special meetings calling people in. There's tons of calls flooding into the office. They don't know how to handle it. It's kind of funny.
Just about atheists getting together in a city that they've traditionally dominated. Just about that? That's the issue?
Well, it was the issue of them saying that they weren't going to run the billboard campaign, and then once American Atheists came forward and said, well, we've contacted several companies. This company in particular said that they weren't going to run it, and that they not only were they not going to run it, but that they thought that they weren't going to run the billboards because they were offensive. And then tons of people started calling the company saying, what is wrong with the billboards? I don't understand why you would do this. What is the major problem here?
Well, and then it blew up onto a national level where you're watching CNN, this little sign company from Utah's on it.
Well, and so the ironic thing about that whole situation is that these billboard companies chose not to run the billboards and gave their reasons why, and consequently ended up giving 100 times more publicity for it than if they had just run the damn billboard.
Yeah, considering every time that they're advertising that these billboards weren't going to get run, they showed a picture of exactly what the billboard was going to be.
Oh yeah, well, and and American Atheists chose local companies to try to run the billboards because they wanted to contribute to the local economy. Yeah. These companies all denied them, so they had to go to Denver and run a contract with CBS Outdoor in order to run the billboard campaign. So these companies not only gave up the thousands of dollars that they would have gotten in revenue for running the billboard campaign, but then they gave more publicity to the company or to American Atheists than if they just run the billboard and had the money and contributed more to the local economy.
Well, I at the beginning of it, I kind of thought their fear was if we advertise for them, are these church groups going to come back to us for more business? That was my kind of.
I guess so. I guess so, but and I've noticed too that there aren't a ton of churches necessarily who advertise on things. I think their main concern is that here in Utah, where the LDS Church is so prevalent and has so many members and such a majority here that whether the advertisement is specifically for the LDS Church or any religion in general, it doesn't matter. It's that so many other companies and businesses are owned and ran by LDS people who would be upset that they had run that.
There's kind of a statistic that runs around. I know Greta Christina's talked about it, that a significantly high percentage of homeless teens on the streets of Salt Lake City are kicked out by their parents for either being non-believers or LGBT teens. Is there truth to that? And if so, I wonder what is the Atheists of Utah doing to accommodate them or to reach out to them, or what can we do more to help these kids? Yeah,
absolutely. That does happen. I can't remember all of the specific numbers.
I think it was like 40% of the teens
of Utah's
homeless
youth are
non-believers or LGBT.
And I know I'd actually done a little research for this. I tried to do a project trying to find them to go do a mini documentary out in Salt Lake with this, but zero help from any organization to find people.
Oh,
what
really?
I was reading was basically, it was, under the age of 18, it was, like you're saying, about 40 to 50% of the youth that were homeless were homosexual or basically against the religion of their parents, and their parents kicked them out because they couldn't have it.
What harm with religion, right? And
right. Yeah,
religion is loving and teaches people to be compassionate
and inclusive.
Yeah, that was one of the things that, not one of the things, that was probably the thing that pissed me off the most on Wednesday with the panel and listening to the BYU professors up there, saying that Mormons don't shun people. And then and then it was like, oh no, clearly that does happen. Mormons do shun people. And one of the professors said, well, no, real Mormons don't do that.
Or a vast majority of Mormons don't.
So the no true Scotsman fallacy.
Yeah. I can't tell you how much that pissed me off, because I know personally people who have parents who hold church leadership positions, whether it's bishop, stake president, somebody higher up in the church, who, when their children say that they no longer believe in the church, actively shun them. They disown them. It pisses me off for them to sit up there and say, well, no real Mormon does that.
Yeah.
Are they saying that these bishops and stake presidents who do this to their kids aren't real Mormons? These are the people who hold leadership positions in the fucking church. Don't tell me they're not real Mormons.
Yeah. Yeah,
God, that made me so mad.
Yeah.
I'm getting mad just thinking about it.
Let it out, man. This is not a soft and easy podcast. I mean, we're going to tell it how it is. So yeah, get pissed, man.
In my opinion, I think everyone that is non-LDS in the state has experienced the pushback from it too. I mean, I've had when I first moved into my house, I would talk to my neighbor all the time. I'm a firefighter. He's a cop. We would just bullshit with each other. I mow my lawn with a beer in my hand. He sees me. He walks the other direction. And now whenever he comes out of his house, he avoids me. This was like a year and a half ago. He's avoided me for about a year and a half every time I'm outside my house.
For breaking the word of wisdom.
But they don't shun people.
No, they'll just ignore the hell out of you and no longer speak to you or want to.
They just take that passive aggressiveness to a whole new level.
Yeah. Speaking with Atheists of Utah President Dan Ellis here today. Should we move on to some news items?
Sure.
Let's hit some news. What do you got, Ryan? You got some?
I have got a group of folk in Virginia called the Family Foundation, who they actually announced that they're going to do a 40 days and 40 nights fast because gay marriage is about to be legal in Virginia.
God damn.
So they want to stop eating. What's the point of this?
Their whole thing is, I'm trying to bring it up right now. This is their actual statement from off of their website, from a statement from the Family Foundation's website. It says, our state and nation are mirrored in morass of confusion and postmodern thinking that does not believe in absolute, nor that any truth can ever be known. Nowhere is there more evident than in the current debate raging about about what constitutes marriage. Pagan philosophers, a secular humanist education establishment, and an entertainment industry that is absolutely determined in pushing the envelope of decency and morality have all combined to turn this great land into a country that our forefathers would no longer recognize.
What is postmodern thinking? Like, is that a post-apocalyptic thing? How can you be postmodern?
I think the postmodern. You can hear elements of it in that article itself. It's this idea that we can't really know anything, and this whole idea. So
it reminds me of Tim Minchin's Beat poem.
Yeah, they're talking about it on a I think terms of morality. Is that's kind of how
that's what I took from saying
that
this country is going on the tube. You are absolutely immoral for recognizing and wanting to have people that love each other marry each other.
Equal rights is immoral.
For everyone.
Equal rights is immoral.
As opposed to, stoning people who, as opposed to stoning women who are raped or owning
Children
slaves, anything like that. All of those great moral things that the Bible teaches us.
But yeah, they're actually passing out videos and resources for congregations throughout the state to help their leaders perform a 40-day, 40-night fast with their congregation. And I read on another site they're actually encouraging the kids to take part too.
That's
so
disgusting.
I don't know if that constitutes neglect or abuse.
Are they encouraging the kids or are they forcing them to fast?
I would say if that family is going to that congregation and that congregation is telling them to fast, like most religious groups, they're going to follow what it says and fast.
And so what is not eating supposed to accomplish in terms of fighting equal rights?
Can God only hear them if they're starving?
Yeah. Well, the 40 days, 40 nights, that comes from, I'm trying to remember what that was in the old.
From Noah?
Yeah.
Well, there's Noah. Yeah, I think Jesus fasted for 40 days when he was tempted by Satan on the mountain, right?
Sure.
Nobody knows. Okay.
Right.
We are godless.
That's ringing a very small bell, but...
Yeah, they're encouraging all members to refuse any food from August 27th to October 4th, and Congress is having their session on October 6th over the issue.
August to October.
Well, yeah,
August, I know. It just sounds like a really long time to not eat.
Well, there's those people in India that claim they eat nothing and drink nothing their whole lives, and they're still doing just fine, apparently.
Which is bullshit.
Oh yeah,
the breatharians.
Yeah, the people who live on sunlight.
And people die from that all the time.
or die from trying to live on sunlight.
Okay, so I'm still confused, but
yeah, I don't understand what they hope to accomplish with this. I mean, first, I don't understand what they really hope to accomplish. Like, do they think that they can force their religious belief on the rest of the United States, or do they think that God can only hear you when you're starving, and it has to be a period of no less than 40 days?
Nights.
Right.
And I mean, or is it a combination of the two? I don't understand why people do stupid shit like this.
Even if we take it back a step from the supernatural, right? And so I'm here, I'm gay, I love Ryan, he's gay, we want to get married, right? This is hypothetical, but
I was going to say, are you guys announcing something right here?
Okay. And somebody tells me we can't do that because they're not eating. Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. Yeah, done. You're right.
Good. I honestly think these people
I don't understand how that
something from God will come down and prevent Congress from voting on it. It'll be, I don't know.
Like Jesus will stride into the nation's capital riding a unicorn or something.
And everybody be like, well, guess what?
I think he prefers donkeys.
All right, probably.
Yeah, donkeys.
I don't know. From what I've read in the Bible, I honestly think if God did come down, he would go, what the fuck are these people doing not eating?
Yeah.
The whole gay marriage thing, we're cool with it.
Why are you people being dicks to these other people over here? I don't understand that shit.
Well, this is assuming it's a non-biblical God. I mean, if he's really just and merciful, yeah, they would think.
Yeah.
But no, I mean...
Oh, true, yeah.
Well, if it's the biblical guy...
Well, and, most modern Christians equate Jesus with, love and kindness and understanding, unless I don't fucking agree with you, and then I'm going to starve myself for 40 days to try to deny you civil rights.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. And I don't know how they get that merciful, loving guy out of the Bible anyway, but that's a whole different episode.
Well, it's the whole cherry picking thing.
Yeah.
And I understand why people cherry pick. I mean, you kind of have to. If you if you were to try to live by all of the commandments in the Bible, you'd be thrown in a mental institution or just locked up in prison. But I don't understand why they cherry pick most things to say that God is kind and loving and compassionate and accepting and choose to worship this being and then say, oh, and God hates fags too.
Yeah.
Like that's something that God that's something Jesus walked around talking about all the time was, boy, this is great, right? I'm going to I'm going to get rid of the money changers from the temples. Oh, and by the way, you guys don't be gay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Please show me the verse where Jesus addressed homosexuality.
Yeah, and it doesn't exist.
No, it's not there. It's not there at all. I've got a quick piece here. It's actually one sentence long.
That's pretty quick.
I printed off like 4 pages. I'm not going to go through the whole story because it's just no fucking duh. All right. Here's the headline. Preliminary evidence suggests the suspects in the Boston Marathon bombings were motivated by religion. No fucking shit. We already knew that.
Wow. Is that breaking news?
No, yeah, apparently so. That was a headline. The Tsarnaev brothers are tied to an Islamic group. Fucking amazing.
Was that breaking news in the Deseret news here? Or?
I don't. No, it was national news. I don't know if they're just starting to figure this out, but yeah, okay. So the Tsarnaevs were Islamic terrorists.
But you know what? I've never
Surprise.
heard ever
Yeah,
in a paper.
shocker, right?
Local atheist blows up church.
Yeah.
Never heard that.
Yeah, yeah. Or kicks out their homosexual son.
Yeah,
or daughter.
never once ever heard that in any news article.
Yeah, not to say that it's never happened, but when we're talking about percentages and scales,
Or that it never will. I mean,
Sure.
they're mentally disturbed people all over the place.
Yeah.
But, religion provides people an excuse to be a fucking dick.
Yeah, that's right. Steven Weinberg,
Like
right?
Well, yeah.
I mean, in different words, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, what
for
is
a
it?
good for a good person to do bad things, it takes religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the guy who shot up the Jewish community places there on the East Coast. What,
That was
3
in
weeks
DC,
ago?
wasn't it?
Yeah. He was a KKK member who I think if I read recently, they say they are a Christian organization.
Yes. Yeah, the KKK uses the Bible as their primary backing for most of their shitty beliefs.
I wish I had printed this news story, but ex-KKK leader that got caught with the black prostitute,
He's
the
the
black
same
male
one
prostitute.
that did the shooting.
Oh,
Isn't
the
that
Schadenfreude.
delicious irony?
Oh, yeah.
I love that story.
It was about a year or two prior to him going and doing the shooting at the Jewish seminaries that he got caught with a
black male prostitute.
Nice.
Wow.
And he was the grand wizard of the KKK.
Nice.
So not just a member, he's
No.
the top-notch member of the KKK.
He's the head
when he got-
honcho.
Nice.
So I don't know if he was actually still a member of the KKK when he did that shooting a few weeks ago or not, but I think you get dethroned after that.
I'm not.
Dethroned.
I don't know. I'm not willing to give him a pass on either.
No.
No.
I mean,
No. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, out of those 3 stories, the black male prostitute is by far the least objectionable.
Correct.
I mean, but
we've all got our kinks.
sure, yeah, yeah. Just the irony was what I thought was funny. What do you got? You got another story, Ryan?
I got the one from Wisconsin where the Wisconsin State GOP senator complains that John Kerry upset God by opposing Uganda's anti-LGBT laws.
Say that again now?
He said John Kerry upset God by opposing Uganda's anti-LGBT laws. So if you don't know, John Kerry was over there recently, and Uganda basically passed laws where if you get caught for being gay, you can
the kill the gays bill.
you get
right.
killed.
Yeah, the kill the gay. Yeah.
And Kerry was
Uganda
basically over there
is-
telling him, "Whoa, that's not cool. This is human
You
rights
fuckers
stuff."
are taking it too far.
Yeah.
Well, as far as I understand it, this whole turmoil of intolerance in Uganda actually stems from a United States Christian group that really had trouble getting traction here.
Well, one of those guys
And
is
shipped
being
their
prosecuted
fucking bullshit
for,
overseas.
For shit, and I could be totally off base here. I know one of those guys was being prosecuted for basically crimes against humanity for being such a worthless piece of shit. And I can't remember if it's in The Hague or it was another international justice court who chose to press charges against this guy as a crime against humanity for being such a raging fucking asshole.
Douchebag, yeah.
Well, didn't it come out when the whole Chick-fil-A thing blew up that the Chick-fil-A owner was actually donating money to Uganda's cause to fight homosexuals?
That wouldn't surprise me.
I'm not
Dan
sure
Cathy's
about-
a fucking
he's,
asshole.
He's a douche, but I'm not sure about that tie. But yeah, he's a.
I mean, I don't know if it was exactly to this or not, but the thing that John Kerry wanted to do, because when Uganda passed that law, they basically said there's no scientific proof that being gay is natural or that it's part of you. All of our scientists said it's 100%. They choose to do it.
Wait,
and
no,
it's
so
wrong.
All of the Ugandan scientists?
All the Ugandan- So John Kerry basically said, we're going to send some people over here that have done the work and show you the science saying it's normal. We can show that this is the way they are. There's nothing abnormal about it.
Well, first of all these soulless, non-heaven going animals, parrots, porpoises, dolphins, they all experiment with homosexuality.
Oh, yeah.
Which in itself, by definition, is natural, right? Monkeys do it. Other apes do it. And I've made a point actually of asking, however uncomfortable that might be, all of my friends that are gay or bisexual, and every one of them has said born that way.
Yeah.
If not born, it's developed really early on in life.
Well, and if you're not
early enough that you don't remember,
and really if you're not born with it, I've had this conversation with a few of my gay friends in the past where I say, if you're not born gay, I don't understand why anybody would choose to.
That's
be gay.
Yes,
yeah.
Great point too.
And a couple of them have gotten really offended initially and be like, well, what do you mean? Why the fuck wouldn't I choose to be gay? Gay is awesome. I love being me. And I'm like, no, I understand that. And I understand that. I accept you. I love you. I think that's fantastic. You are who you are. But with so many other people who don't love you and don't accept you and are, being assholes to you, I don't understand why someone would choose to put themselves in a position where people hate you just because of who you love.
Yeah.
And I mean, so if it's not something you're born with, I don't understand why anybody would make that choice. And for the people who say that being gay is a choice, when did they choose to be straight? Like, when did they choose to set aside their attraction for someone of the same sex?
Yes, exactly.
And say, I really like Frank. I think he's damn good looking, but I'm gonna have to choose to date women exclusively.
Right.
I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, perfect. And I've got to credit my sister with this one, but she, told me some years ago that the fact is she's not gay, so she doesn't get to fucking decide. She doesn't get to tell them. If they tell her that they're born that way, that's the answer.
Yeah,
right.
That's it. If you don't accept that, that's your fucking problem.
Yeah.
So
I actually have a gay sister, and we're 1 year apart. I'm about a year and a half older than she is. And I remember my mom called when my sister came out to her, and she's like, I'm not supposed to tell you, but your sister came out. And I'm like, you didn't realize?
My sister's an atheist?
This is honestly...
I think I've known she was gay since about middle school. When she wants to shave her head like her brothers, and she refuses to wear women's clothes, period. Does not want to play with dolls, and she wants to go hunting and play with the animal brains with dad. That's not feminine, and she's never had a boyfriend. She's
according to social norms, but
and
there's stereotypes. But
and that reminds me of something else too. And I've always wondered, we tend to use these binary terms of gay or straight, and we throw bisexual in there, but people aren't. Not everybody is born as strictly male or strictly female.
Absolutely right.
I can't remember the statistics on how many children are born intersex or multisex when they're born, and doctors make a decision there in the delivery room of, okay, which sex are we going to favor for this child who has just been born, and for so many people who are then members of the trans community, it's that. Okay, well, I was born intersex or multisex, and the doctors fucked up in picking the sex that they were going to favor.
And because of that, I've actually heard recently that that's no longer a practice anymore in the hospitals. They no longer get to choose on the spot. It's wait till the child gets to a certain age and raise them, and then let the child decide on their own. Is it male or female? Which way are you going to go?
That's awesome.
Right. And I mean, the whole thing is assuming we're going by social conventions, we've got straight on one side, gay on the other. It's a sliding scale.
Right.
I mean, you might have somebody who's married to a woman that's 49% gay. Right. I'm just saying, I mean, it's 51% female, but everyone falls,
once in a while.
Well, everyone falls somewhere on that line. But the other thing too, and I want to bring this back to the convention a little bit too. Fantastic speaker, Marcia Botzer was here. And she was here specifically to make sure that we didn't forget about the T part of the LGBT community. She's from Washington State. She was co-chair of the Seattle City LGBT Commission, founded Seattle's Ingersoll Gender Center, and I've been in some communication with her recently. She's tentatively committed to doing an interview here soon with the Godless Rebelution podcast, so would be excited to have her. But we want to make sure not to exclude the T part of the LGBT community too. I mean,
I think it does get overlooked. Most people think
it does.
Gay
it
or
does.
lesbian most times.
And you know, LGBT is a minority group, and the T is a minority group of the LGBT group.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but
yeah, they do get overlooked a lot, and there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings and just ignorance about the trans community. You know, I myself was really, really ignorant about the trans community until the last few years, and I've learned a ton. You know, Atheists of Utah has been fortunate in that because we're big supporters of the LGB community, we've added the T community also, and there's a great trans advocacy group here in Utah called T. It's the Transgender Education Advocates, I believe. Okay. Sorry, Connie, if I fucked that up. But you know, they do a whole lot of great work for the trans community here, and we've participated in the every year there's the Transgender Day of Remembrance. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's this. The first one I attended basically changed my life and changed my views on so many different things, and opened my eyes to the plight of the trans community here. That, I mean, just so many trans people are murdered every year. So the Transgender Day of Remembrance is you know, basically going through and reading a list of names of people in the trans community who have been murdered over the last year. Yeah, and you know, the statistics on trans murders are, you know, widely and hugely underreported, of course, because they're in so many societies, and even in the U.S. they're treated as subhuman. You know, they're treated as they're not even worthy of any respect that you would give to a human being that you hate. I mean, they're viewed as less than human, and just the things that are done to so many of these trans people when they're killed are horribly disturbing. I mean, you know, at the first couple T doors, I was lucky enough to be asked to speak and delivered a little speech that Grant Larimer, former board member, had written for me to deliver, which was brilliant. I'll have to give that to you guys to post somewhere if you'd like.
Sure, yeah.
And then this last T door celebration, or not celebration, sorry, just remembrance. Yeah. You know, rather than having
a life celebration.
Yeah, and rather than having, you know, me speak or a whole bunch of different speakers, they had, I think, you know, more trans people actually speak, and tried to make it a non-religious thing. You know, previously it was kind of an interfaith thing where they had different, for lack of a better word, religious leaders deliver speeches or give talks. And at this last one, they had some people from the trans community speak. They had the Salt Lake police chief speak, which caused some other problems, but that's not really what that's kind of off the track of what I'm getting to here. But you know, at this one they had us just read the names, and in a lot of the cases how the trans person was killed. Oh. And you know, it's always really rough, you know, reading through these things and listening to people read through them and everything. And I had a couple different cards, but I think they had 3 or 4 different names on each one. And you know, I managed to get through the first card okay, and then I got back in line, and people are reading, and a couple people are breaking down as they're reading them. And the second card I got through the first 1 or 2 names, and then the third one I got to, I believe it was a 17-year-old trans female who was decapitated and just thrown in the garbage like a piece of garbage. And it just, I mean, the inhumane and inhuman acts that these people, you know, the
ability to treat a human being in that
right,
manner,
that these people who probably are acting out of some sort of, you know, shitty religious justification for doing the things that they do, to do this to another human being is just beyond the pale.
Yeah, I don't really care what they think their justification is for something like that. I mean, if it's religious or not. But I think the overall point, though, we're friends of minority groups. We're allies with the LGBT community. However, we are three 30-something-year-old white guys sitting here. Dan's probably not 30-something years old.
I'm 40 now officially.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you surprised me. All right. So, but if any of you have any questions, comments, anything we can add, any ways we can be more sensitive to this kind of thing, any way we could bring better attention to it, feel free to shoot us an email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com. Please get in contact with us. Let us know what we can do to be better at supporting these groups, at becoming better allies to fight for.
Just helping on Facebook, posting them and sharing that kind of
posts,
stuff, getting out there.
Definitely.
Any of the social media, whatever we can do to make a great alliance here and get equal rights for the citizens of this country. Citizens,
Yeah.
and that's it. People, human beings.
Especially with talking about the transgender like that, with how small the community is, it's just now getting to the point where the homosexual community is being understood, and they've been fighting this for how many years?
Oh yeah, decades.
So, and they're a pretty large community compared to what the transgender community is. So it's
Sure.
got to be a lot harder for them to get their voice out. So
Yeah,
all
Sure,
the
but
avenues they can
we've
get.
got our arms out there for you, and so just let us know, and we'll try to improve on that. But we're friends out here. As far as at this point, if we can be better, we'll try to improve. Let's see, what do you got? Anything else to hit? I got this one. I want to kind of bring I want to bring it up a little bit. I fucking hate this guy.
All right, hate is such a good motivator.
He's talking about inclusion, and we love everyone.
We love everybody, but I hate this fucking guy right here.
All right,
fuck this guy in
Maybe
particular.
it's not the guy. Maybe it's the actions this guy was taking.
Okay, I accept your correction. Thanks, Ryan. This is out of Oklahoma City. We got a lot of friends in Oklahoma, actually. It's a Bible Belt state, but Seth Andrews does a lot of great work down there. Got a lot of good friends down in Oklahoma. But high school curriculum supported by Hobby Lobby chain president Steve Green. Billed as a way to teach archaeology, history, and the arts through Bible stories.
Yes.
Yeah, fuck that guy in particular.
Also tells students God is always there in times of trouble and that sinners must, quote, suffer the consequences of disobeying.
Oh, and this is the book they want to adopt in public schools, correct?
Yeah, this is a public school, high school curriculum that's proposed by Hobby Lobby douchebag Steve Green. The Mustang School Board in suburban Oklahoma City voted this month to place the Museum of Bible's curriculum in its schools as an elective for 1-year trial after being assured that the intent is not to proselytize.
How is it? I mean, right off the bat,
How can they not be proselytizing when they're preaching one particular theology?
Right, and of course that was my question, and I think that having it as an elective course is the way that they're sort of skirting around this. But hold on, it gets better.
You can choose to use public funds for this?
Right. That's right. Well, so the course is promoted by Green, the executive for the craft store chain, who is also a member of the Bible's Museum Board. I don't know what the hell that means. But Green, who has said he wants the program in thousands of schools by 2017, declined to speak to the AP. This, quote, "This is not a denomination or a religion. It's about a book."
that promotes.
End quote. Right. The book is the fucking Bible.
I mean, isn't this the same state that made science? You can opt out of science class.
I'm not sure about that one.
What? Didn't you hear about one of the Bible Belt states was trying to pass a law where you could opt out of science class over religious grounds?
Well, I mean, I'm certainly glad to have his admission, however tacit, that the Bible is not a religious book. But keep that in mind, right? That this is not about a religion, right? Among the topics covered by the curriculum are the roles of religion in early America, discussing the New World as a haven for those seeking to escape religious persecution. It also talks about the role of religion in art. Okay, not a paragraph ago. Right, so
it's not about religion.
So he's already, yeah. I mean,
well, I mean that doesn't mean religion doesn't mean Christianity, does it? I mean, I don't know about you, but
Is there any other kind of religion?
Well, not in Oklahoma, but no, we're teaching the Islamic style of the Bible in this particular science.
I
course.
gotta talk about that one real quick since you just we're talking about religion.
Yeah, go ahead, riff, man, riff.
Once again, it was another Bible Belt state there on the East Coast that had passed a law where you could use state funding for private schools and homeschooling your kids in a religious school. Once it came up that people were like, well, what about this Buddhist temple? Like, no, it's got to be a Christian school. Like, you said religious schools.
Yeah.
And that senator backtracked it and went, boom, no, we're not passing this. I'm vetoing it.
What about a Wiccan or a pagan school?
Yeah. Once they came up with that, people started going, oh, we'll start a pagan school. We'll start a Wicca school. We'll start a devil worshipping school right here.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad they do push that. Those other forms of religion to really bring it to the Christians that think that. I mean, the problem is the First Amendment that we fight hard for is for those fucking guys that are trying to get that wall of separation blown apart. Right? They don't realize, like, what if, okay, they're so big on saying that Obama's a Muslim. What if he fucking was?
It shouldn't matter.
Yeah. No, but what my point is, what if he was and he decided to make everything in the United States, as far as curriculum and the United States religion was Islam, well they're the ones that got rid of the First Amendment, so they got to they don't think about that.
Well, I got a topic I can do for next week that might settle this whole debate on whether the United States is a Christian nation, and I'm betting it's something that most people haven't heard about in the atheist community.
What's that?
The Inquas, the Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
The treaties that they had written up between their nations prior to us even arriving here, that was used as a basis for the first Declaration of Independence. That it wasn't until the 1960s or 70s when our government finally said, yes, we do recognize that these Native American tribes were a huge help in uniting the 13 colonies. But they didn't want to admit it. They're saying, no, we did this. But when Jefferson and Washington have their Indian buddies that were from all these different tribes getting together and say, this worked for us. We used to fight.
It wasn't exclusively based on old white men thinking?
No, it wasn't. Or the Bible.
You heard it here first, folks. The very first podcast in the history of the internet next week on Godless Rebelution, the Inquas.
I'll bring it up. It's actually, when I was reading through, because I'd heard about it before and I was reading more into it, and I'm trying to find the article where it talks about it, where it says that's where they got the creator from. Saying all men are created equal. They're saying, well, that actually came from their writings. So if it came from the Native American writings saying about their being created equal, how could that have come from a Judeo-Christian ideal, which is the only thing in the Declaration of Independence that they grasp onto is like creator, that's God. Because nowhere else does it have any reference to anything that could vaguely be God.
All right, fuck Chick-fil-A, fuck Hobby Lobby. What do we got?
The Hobby Lobby thing really bothers me.
I got a couple more things. This one's not necessarily religious by nature, but it just fucking drives me nuts. And I know you guys are going to agree.
It's that bad he doesn't even want to say it.
Something that seems to be worse than religion.
Yeah, this guy. Okay. All right. A Nevada rancher.
Oh,
okay,
God,
need I say more?
Cliven Bundy? Fucking
who said to say Nevada?
Who became a conservative folk hero for standing up to the government in a fight over grazing rights, lost some of his staunch defenders after wondering aloud whether blacks might have had it better under slavery.
Did you hear his rebuttal to that when they're attacking him on that?
I don't care.
His rebuttal was, it was a question. I prefaced it with a question.
I'm not saying it's true or not.
I'm just asking
I'm throwing it out there.
Let me go on. Republican politicians from around the country who have rallied to Cliven Bundy, this douchebag's name, defense in recent weeks denounced the comments and distanced themselves from the rancher, including 2016 presidential contender Rand Paul. Yeah, but it's a PR move to distance yourself from this guy. I mean, beyond that though, Democrats were quick to pounce on the comments and label Bundy a racist, which undoubtedly he is.
It makes me want to throw out a Colbert question and say something like, because Cliven Bundy was just throwing it out there. He's just asking a question.
Well, that's the Fox News tactic.
My question would be along, Stephen Colbert's line and say, Cliven Bundy, bad human being or worst human being ever.
Yeah, right. Well, this is the Fox News tactic of asking the question, rather like Dan Ellis, child molester.
You decide.
You decide. No, he's a fucking racist and he's a piece of shit. So anyway, he resisted
not
the
me,
federal
right?
government. Cliven Bundy. Yes, not Dan Ellis, president of Utah, Atheists of Utah. No. He resisted the federal government's attempt to round up his cattle from federal land because he hadn't paid grazing fees for 2 decades. His supporters, especially those on the right, have praised him for standing up to what they believe is a heavy-handed federal government. And several armed militia members traveled to his ranch to back Bundy.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they could pull like what was the name of the mob boss that they got on tax stuff or postal fraud or whatever? Could they do something similar with Cliven Bundy, like, oh, well, whether you choose to pay this or not let us, confiscate your cattle or whatever, you've committed fraud, so we're just going to arrest you on that.
Just get like for blowing through a stop sign or an unpaid speeding ticket, and be like, you get jail for 2 fucking life sentences, you racist fuck.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't know if you guys saw Rachel Maddow did this fantastic takedown.
I love Rachel Maddow.
on Cliven Bundy and Fox News and all of these conservative pundits who were going off on him. This was on last Thursday's episode, whatever date that was. Today's Wednesday. So this was almost a week ago. But it was on her Thursday episode from last week. If you haven't seen it, you should. I'll post that out on Facebook. It was amazing. It was like a 25 minute long opening segment on Cliven Bundy and how all of these conservative dickwads missed somehow that this type of shit would come out of his mouth eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was amazing. It was just this 20-minute long build-up to just this awesome, glorious, fantastic, splendiferous conclusion, that I was just like, oh, I love this so much. This
where their
is
hero
so
just
wonderful.
shit the most vulgar word into his mouth that can crush the conservatives.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. I'll have to post that. I keep forgetting, but it was amazing.
Well, after that awesome group of adjectives from Dan Ellis here, let me go on.
I don't use splendiferous very often.
Splendiferous is great.
Is that the new sugar?
I think so.
Splenda?
Right.
Splendiferous.
An additive or not an additive. I don't know.
Bundy was quoted in a Times story referring to black people as the Negro. Yeah.
Singular.
Yes, it is singular. Yeah, it is. And recalling a time decades ago, I don't know if you've seen this guy. I'm surprised it wasn't fucking centuries ago, because he's in his late hundreds, clearly, has the posture of a jumbo
he said
shrimp.
He's been ranching there since, 1890?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's been in Nevada since they killed Jesse James. Decades ago, when he drove past homes in North Las Vegas and saw black people who, quote, didn't have nothing to do. He said they wondered if they were, quote, better off as slaves than under government subsidy.
Of course, completely ignoring the fact that the majority of those on government subsidy are white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think this is the kind of guy that does a lot of research. Just off the top of my head here. He seems to kind of spitball, sort of say what he's feeling right at the moment. He goes on, quote, are they slaves to charity? Now, I already have a problem. I'm skipping past the Negro and better off as slaves part, which are they slaves to charity? There's the choice of words there, I think, is a little bit
people
incredibly insensitive. And not just they, and using slaves. Are they slaves to charity and government subsidized homes? Question.
I'm just throwing it out.
I'm just throwing it out there. Right.
No one answered me yet.
And are they slaves when their daughters are having abortions and their sons are in prisons?
Yeah.
So much is wrong.
So much. Like I said, not necessarily religiously. I would venture a guess as to what I think this guy's religious views are. We don't know for sure, so I won't do that. but it's so disgustingly offensive.
I'll bet he's a Muslim.
A lot of them are cattle ranchers in Nevada. It's true.
I've seen it.
This thought goes back a long time, he concludes. Okay.
So this guy's basically been racist.
He's a fucking... Okay. Abortions and prisons. I'm curious how that's even relevant. And why that's related to what he thinks, in his mind, the stereotype of black people. I guarantee if you look at statistics for abortions and this kind of thing, there's no correlation.
No, I mean,
I could guarantee that.
Unless you go by the conservative thought of abortion, where the morning after pill is considered abortion, any form of birth control is considered abortion, or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole different episode.
But some of them go as far as saying the masturbation is abortion.
Yes,
right. That's true. Yeah. Well, that goes back to the Onan part of the Bible, right? Onan, the story of Onan.
I've probably aborted millions by that standard.
You have a towel in your room,
if not billions,
leaning against your bedroom
Yeah,
door?
it doesn't lay flat. Well, it lays flat against the wall.
Okay.
If I smooth it out that way.
Okay. Just a quick sentence more on this guy, and we'll be done. A statement on the official Bundy Ranch Facebook... This part, I love this part. I had to include this. Statement on the official Bundy Ranch Facebook page. Who runs that, I wonder? Thursday said, Bundy was a good man. He loves all people, and he is not a racist. Yeah. And here's the part I love about this story, right? Anytime you're talking to somebody, and they start by saying, I'm not a racist, but
you're usually going to say something very racist.
They're about to be a fucking asshole. Yeah, I know. And so the very fact that you have to come on Facebook and say, I'm a good guy and I'm not a racist, right?
I just really don't like those people of other colors.
And
anytime you have to qualify what you're going to say with, I'm not a blank but.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I just read the story that I got from this. This guy... we didn't need that qualifier at the end. Everybody fucking knew by now, right? The guy's a racist douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he sounds. I made him sound like a cartoon character from Texas somewhere.
Well, he didn't sound very bright when he actually did.
Well, no, I love the use of double the guy's 1,000,000 years old and he still hasn't figured out that a double negative is a positive, right? Nothing.
Does he also own an NBA franchise?
Ooh. Yeah, that was a great one.
I don't know how I was kind of going both ways on the deal with that dude.
I saw a couple of different reports. I think I just don't know enough to comment. I think my initial...
Have you heard the recordings? Have you heard the things that he actually said?
I haven't.
Oh. Okay. But he said them in his own home. I'm like, yeah, you may be a racist douche in your own house.
I claim ignorance on this one. I don't know enough.
Oh, no, he was upset.
Is he a total douche?
He was upset with the 20-something-year-old
girlfriend
female who he's been having an affair with for however long.
Right.
Who I learned yesterday is half black herself.
Yeah.
Okay.
That he was upset that she took a picture of herself and a friend with Magic Johnson and posted it to Instagram, and his whole thing was, if you want to associate with those people, yeah, don't post that where other people can see it, and then my friends will contact me and say, hey, your girlfriend is posing with black people, as if that's an okay thing to do.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, what's wrong with black people? He's like, I don't have a problem with black people. I give them money for cars and for houses and for food and to take care of their children.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Holy cow. I didn't know a whole lot about it until last night. I was sitting up in my office and I listened to the actual recordings and I was like, holy shit. I can't believe that this fucking guy, I can't believe there's been a question for anybody. I can't believe that the NBA took as long as they did to say, no, you're done. You're fucking banned for life.
Yeah.
We're done with you.
Yeah.
You're a piece of shit. We don't want to have any association with you. I'm surprised it took them as long as it did.
Especially being in the NBA.
Well, from what I understand this is just the straw that broke the camel's back. There was other things that happened before us, being a slumlord and a bunch of other stuff going on that were
being a slumlord and actively denying rentals to black people.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. He's been sued for discrimination before, in particular for denying housing to black people. And and making comments like, I don't want black people living in any of the housing that I own because they stink. Not generally some people stink, or black people in particular stink more than any other person.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. Fuck that guy too.
Yeah. Fuck those 3 guys.
Oh my.
Well, do you got any other articles you want to do
have
right now? Or?
one more if we feel like getting reanimated. I might get as pissed off about this one as I did the last one.
I got a couple cocktails in me. I'm good.
Atheists of Utah President Dan Ellis there. Okay.
Let it go.
Big sigh.
I will just start with the quote, and I think that will kick this off sufficiently. Quote, waterboarding is how we baptize terrorists.
Sarah Palin! Yay!
I could not. Well, you forgot the first part of it, where it was, if I was in charge.
I was president. Yeah. Well,
pardon me, but
fortunately,
thank God that didn't happen, right?
Fortunately, even the media at this point is backing away from her a little bit after this kind of
Even her ex-running mate was like, I was tortured in a Vietnamese prison.
Yeah. What
you
the
are
fuck is
a
wrong
bitch
with this
for
lady?
saying that.
My first, I mean, obviously there's shock involved.
Oh, yeah.
Really, though? Are we really shocked that this dumb fucking bitch would say
the
something
one that
like
can see Russia from her backyard at 1,000 miles away.
Yeah, but I still was. I mean, I would have been more surprised to hear it from like Hillary Clinton or something like that. Yes, but
yeah,
I think
to hear it. Okay, there's so much.
Well, if it's anything Obama gets rid of,
yeah,
they're going to want it back.
Well,
and something he got rid of.
And I guess I can understand where you're saying, where it's one thing to maybe hold these views in private and kind of in your own head, but to voice them publicly, like, how fucking stupid are you?
And a national rifle association.
Here's the thing. Okay, she's going through this in her mind at some point. And
she's writing this speech before she came there.
Okay, and she goes to the.
This wasn't just an off the cuff comment,
No.
was it? It was part of her delivery.
So she goes to the point of writing this fucking thing out, and she looks at it and goes, "Fucking brilliant, perfect, yes,
this is awesome."
Yeah,
people are going to clap so hard.
And the point is, they fucking loved it.
Yeah, they did. They cheered and
They
clapped.
did.
Yeah, let's torture them so we can get false confessions and put them in a prison and kill their families.
Yes, the National Rifle Association audience she had loved this comment.
Yeah,
I was disgusted when I heard this.
What do you expect? Sarah Palin is like the NRA's hero.
I still think people are human fucking beings. And I have that fault.
I mean, I know there's forms of way of getting information out of people that does not involve putting them on a table and making them feel like they're drowning. I mean, there's mental torture, which
sure, but
works better.
But okay, I mean, so
it's the truth. It works better.
So my first question is this pander? Is this what the religious right wants to hear?
I don't think she's pandering. I think it's what she truly believes. It may work out to be pandering in the end because it's red meat for the masses that choose to follow this fucking dipshit. But it's not something that she doesn't really believe and is just throwing it out there because, hey, these people will probably like it. She probably fucking believes that herself.
And you got to think
and if
about
she
her...
didn't, why would she choose to associate herself with something that fucking shitty?
So I was going to say, think about her highly educated background. First, she was a model. And then Miss Alaska. Then she was a news anchor. Did she do the weather?
I don't remember.
I know she was on the news. And then she
There's
didn't
so
even
many
do
things
a
about her that I try to forget.
Term. She didn't finish her 2-year term as governor of Alaska. She did 1 year.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is totally parenthetical, but let me throw this out there. Why the fuck does Sarah Palin talk with like a Saturday Night Live version of a Chicago accent? What the hell is the problem?
That's Fargo.
Yeah. Is it Fargo?
Oh, that's Fargo. Yeah, Derek.
It's a Minnesota thing.
Why?
No, I'm from Wisconsin.
Oh, right. So
yeah. We have a few of them.
Well, I was in Minnesota for a while, and I don't think I don't know if I ever encountered anything.
How close did you get to the border?
About 70 miles.
Ooh, you should have been in that country.
Thief River Falls. It's north of Fargo, north of Grand Forks.
when I go home and my uncle talks, I hear it right away. It's like, oh my God.
And he's in Wisconsin?
I never realized until now that.
Well, and now that you mention it, I can kind of hear it.
I get it from people once in a while.
I can definitely hear it in Ryan,
like, you from Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Wisconsin,
or I say water.
You know what's funny
roof,
too?
water.
Or ask for a bubbler.
I get that
I've noticed that Neil deGrasse Tyson says water like
water.
that.
Water. But he's from New York, though. Water. But I get the same, like, I tell people I'm from Boston, and they don't say Boston. They say Baston. It's not fucking Wisconsin.
No, yeah.
It's fucking Boston.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
mother, father, you know, it's not Baston. Like, what the, everyone always tries, oh, you're from Baston, huh? No. So, all right. There's a lot more here. That's like the 2 sentences into this fucking ridiculous thing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I kind of cut you off there.
I guess just, we kind of covered the overall indifference to the systematic torture of Islamic detainees, I guess.
Well, why would we care about them? They're neither white nor Christian.
Yeah.
It just strikes me as Inquisition style rhetoric, this comment. You know, 500, 700 years ago. Stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, in-group Christians, out-group Muslims. We've got them. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll baptize them. Fuck it. Okay.
It's like it's like they're viewed as less than human.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. I mean, clearly. One of my biggest issues with this, and I think this should concern most of the country about she thinks this is what the majority wants to hear. I know we covered
the majority
this a little
who
bit,
would come to listen to her. I think for sure, definitely, yeah.
And that's concerning to me.
Well, yeah, it was concerning to me in the election that you know, for a time I respected John McCain.
Yes,
Sure. I thought, you know, here's a guy who is a Republican who, me being, you know, identifying certainly much more with the Democratic Party than the Republican Party, I thought, you know, he seems to have his poop in a group. I could vote for this guy. He seems like he's got his head on his shoulders. Or a good head on his shoulders, and then he picks her as his running mate, and I was like,
"Yeah,
all right, no, this guy's there's something fundamentally fucking wrong with this guy."
I think he was baiting on the first female vice president.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and you're going to go for that over a black guy.
Yeah,
we got it.
Well, the thing with McCain, you know, is I definitely create a clear division. I completely respect what he did for the United States and the sacrifice he made in Vietnam. I mean, that was a tough, gritty, nasty, brutal fucking war. You know, and I don't take anything away.
His POW stories.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, yeah, and any of those other guys too. I mean, there's a number of them, but you know, and I don't take any of that away from him. And you know, I'm grateful to him for doing that. And any of the troops, by the way, that are out there serving, appreciate it. Love you guys. But his politics, I don't necessarily fall in line with. Sarah Palin, of course, I don't. But this to me crosses a line that I don't think John McCain ever would.
Oh no,
I think this is beyond.
No, well, yeah, he's come out.
Yeah,
he's come out.
He was
himself,
appalled by
right?
it because he was himself in North Vietnam.
Yeah, he was in the Hanoi Hilton.
Yeah, this stuff was going on to him, and he's like,
well, worse than this. But,
way worse, way worse.
But so I did a little nosing around and tried to check. So I just want to pose this question to you guys. What do you think would be the major objection to this kind of a comment that's out there from her side of the political arena?
From her base, how would they react negatively to this?
What might be the major objection from the political right?
You know, the only thing that I could think of possibly that you know, people that she would be pandering to with this type of rhetoric, that they would say, no, you've gone too far, would be the whole notion of, you know, if we do it to them, they'll do it to us. That would be the only thing that I could see that they would maybe have a problem with. But for the most part, they don't view, you know, outgroup or the others, people that they view as other, as being as much of a human being as they are. So, I mean, that would be, in my mind, that would be the only argument that they could make against that.
Right.
The people that she's pandering to.
And that's a really good sort of stretch out of your humanist position into something, but it gets better. So the main objection to what she said was that it's sacrilegious because baptism should be voluntary. That's the problem.
Well, maybe they did voluntarily lay on the table and let you put a cloth over their head.
God wrote it on their heart to be a terrorist, to be put into a system where they would be systematically tortured and then baptized into Christianity. God wrote that on their heart. That's what William Lane Craig would say.
A much better apologist than I, admittedly. But I find that to be a pretty vile and the most minimal objection I could possibly didn't even cross my mind.
Well, I
thought to write it down because I was so disgusted.
Specify what religion they're being baptized into.
Well, there's a whole nother point too. Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah, which version of Christianity?
Yeah. What if they're Mormon now?
What if they're Mormons?
Yeah, most mainstream Christians don't believe Mormons are real Christians.
And that doesn't count when you're torturing them, right? You got to kill them first, and then you can baptize them when they're dead.
No, no. Then you just give them the offer. You're letting them choose to be baptized.
Yeah, of course.
We're extending an invitation.
Yes,
like Anne Frank.
That's what the fucking professors said at that goddamn thing on Wednesday, and I was like, really, you're giving them an invitation?
Yeah, we're so inclusive, we invite you to be just like us. Yep. That's right. All right, I'm fucking done with news. That's what I got. Do you have what do we... Oh, okay, well...
Say we can do a quick wrap-up here. I don't know, since we got you here, what are some things that are been going on this summer with American or Atheists of Utah as far as, just food drives or volunteer work?
We've always got a ton of shit going on. I mean, we've got Atheists of Utah is definitely the largest and most active secular group here in Utah. We've got 2 weekly coffee chats. We've got quarterly parties. We've got monthly Good Without God events where we go and do volunteer work. We do annual camping trip, an annual winter gala. We do book chats, gaming. I mean, there's always just a ton of different stuff going on. Coming up here in the near future, we've got our camping trip this summer. We've got our summer solstice party coming up in June that I'll be hosting here at my lovely abode, which should make all of my neighbors really happy for the 3rd year in a row, I'm sure. But that's also our summer solstice party is also our annual members meeting, where we vote on board positions. This year we have 3 different board positions that are opening up. Anybody who's interested in running and contributing, I would encourage you to certainly submit your information and run for a position on the board if you're looking to help the secular community here in Utah. We could certainly use your help. The Atheists of Utah board is an all-volunteer position. We don't get paid for any of this stuff, and it's a labor of love for me. I spend easily 20 hours a week just devoted to Atheists of Utah outside of my regular job that I work, at least 40 hours on every week. I devote at least an additional 20 hours per week just for Atheists of Utah stuff because I love it. I want to see this group succeed and thrive and help others who are closeted and may not know that there are other people who think like they do here in Utah.
Cool. It's Dan Ellis, president of Atheists of Utah. Great guy. We're open to atheists in Utah trying to come out of the closet if that's what they want to do. If they don't and they want to stay closeted but want to be with like-minded people, we're open to that too. LGBT, any other minority groups, we're on your side. And
if you have a topic and you want us to help promote it, feel free to contact us on Facebook or email godlessrebelution@gmail.com. Yep.
Any questions, comments, anything like that? I'm Matt.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Dan.
This is Godless Rebelution. Thanks for tuning in. Love you guys, and we'll see you next time.